outfield positions weren't awesome either. For some reason, he got a lot of time in center, which was a bad idea. I think there's like one corner outfield position that he's better at than another, but he's probably serviceable there. Like probably the equivalent of what Johnny DeLuca is in center is how Morel would be in the corners. But he's still got to learn the Trop and like how to track those fly balls. So
you are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
It's your boy, Evan Closky.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's your boy.
Sorry, I thought you were drinking.
What are you doing out here?
Oh, my gosh.
You're my guest.
I thought you, I was having some potato issues, evidently. So
Oh, there it is.
let's redo it. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I am Ulises Sambrano.
I don't want to do it anymore.
That is Evan Closky, bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's game 162 just like us,
Or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs or Carl Crawford.
we're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
In every season, they've gone to the playoffs, but probably not this year. Well, less than a 10% chance of making the playoffs, evidently. So grab, in the meantime, your favorite Rays gear, settle in, subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Do you think, Kevin, Eric Neander always has $100 like on his wallet? Is he a cash guy?
That contract extension, I'm sure he does. Well, Rays are now a cashless venue, so maybe
That's
not.
what I'm saying. He's not about the cash, except for Kevin Cash.
Yeah, that's true.
He's always about the cash.
I'm surprised that the Rays have not instituted some of those cash to card games. Does that make sense? Where you can put in cash and get a disposable, more or less, debit card, gift card.
They do. I've used it.
You have those? Okay.
Yeah. It's by guest services. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I guess I don't hang out around the Trop enough, so good to
That's
know.
probably because you're hiking to the Trop from your faraway parking spot.
Oh no, I've got
you don't arrive to the 5th
spot. No, my parking spot is about a third, a fourth of the price of the Trop lot, and
you're welcome.
Very easy. Yes, thank you. Very easy to navigate in and out of, assuming that the guy who takes
you
your
just
money.
go 4 miles down Central. You make a left at
the Texaco. There's a guy with a poncho. His name is Hank. Right.
And your vehicle may be on milk cartons by the end of the night. For all you know.
You know, it's a fun evening. What is it?
Fun
You
evening.
can't have fun on date nights anymore, people? Damn. All right.
Nope, we've reached that point. All right, let's get into some more of these Twitter questions that were levied to Evan in preparation for yesterday's and today's episode. Running through them here, this next one on the docket from Breyer says, could we see one of Durham's starters, that's not a rehabber, being called up sometime this season?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it depends on what happens, right? If there's an injury, my assumption would be we might see a guy like Jacob Lopez. I think it's probably the I love his stuff. The constant issue has always been control. But, you know, like his last start, the control was wonky. Before that, he had like 2 or 3 amazing outings. But I would say that he's probably the leader in the clubhouse. Personally, I love Ian Seymour, but considering how conservative they were with him, promoting him from Montgomery to Durham, my guess is they're going to ride that sucker out all the way until the end of the season, to which they're going to have to then put him on the 40-man if they want to keep him, because I believe he is Rule 5 eligible. So they have plenty of spots, right? I mean, they have a bunch of flyers out there in the bullpen who they can take off the 40 if they got to. So, but I would say number one guy I think called up if something goes wrong to start would probably be a Jacob Lopez.
No love for Jake Mangum. There's Mangum mania afoot.
Well, he's a pitcher, didn't he?
He said a Durham starter.
Oh, I just thought he mentioned a Durham starter, as in.
Oh, I took that as a starting pitcher.
Oh yeah, me too. It started like
I took it as anybody that's a starter on the Bulls position player. Or pitcher.
I would assume. I mean, then it's like, Junior Caminero is going to be up at some spot.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe you all had it right on the question there, but
yeah, I think that, it's tough. They obviously, to me, it seems like they want to give Meisner a chance. So
actually, that's the answer right there, Meisner. Right?
Yeah.
That was the answer if you want.
Yeah, I think it was starting pitcher.
I think it was starting pitcher. Yeah.
I honestly just wanted to flip the question so I could see you talk about Jake Mangum for 15 seconds.
Who was
I got egg on my face now.
So Briar. Okay, so Briar, you know what? Hop on to YouTube and then tell us in the comment section if it was.
If you meant everybody, yeah.
If you want everybody, or if you meant pitchers.
By the way, Meisner looks like a ball player. He is built, has the facial features. He's got it going on.
100% ball player. Yeah. So Evan, one of the things I love about local reporting is the behind the scenes videos that you guys can take. Trisha does this a lot. You do this a lot. Topkin does it as well. I saw a video of Christopher Morel in the outfield with Josh Lowe, and he was tracking a fly ball, and he was kind of like a little bit hesitant. He caught it, and then Josh came by to talk to him, and then he starts like pointing things out. I think the catwalks or whatever. And I think that was pretty cool. And this question deals with that. Dill says, do you think Christopher Morel will get a chance to play the outfield?
So I think that video you're talking about, I think that was from my homie Kyle Berger. So shout out to him.
Kyle Berger. Okay.
I think that was him. So does he get a shot in the outfield? My guess is yes. This year, I don't know. Like in 2024, it might be best to just say, hey, we're playing you at second, and we're going to give you practice in the outfield just in case.
Mm-hmm.
But, I also wouldn't be surprised if once we get into September, they start throwing him out there on the Josh Lowe left-handed off days to give it a shot. So playing the probabilities, he's probably gonna see some outfield time. Will that be his long-term position? I still do not know. I'm still of the belief that him playing the field should be just to give somebody a day off. That most nights he should be a DH. That's just, we have a pretty large sample size. He's not a good defensive player.
Is he just Harold 2.0?
Well, no, because at least when you look at like DRS, second base looks like a plus position for him. Like he's slightly above that. I think he was like a +2 DRS at second base, whereas third base is just absolutely not, like a -10 or something. And the outfield positions weren't awesome either. For some reason, he got a lot of time in center, which was a bad idea. I think there's like one corner outfield position that he's better at than another, but he's probably serviceable there. Like probably the equivalent of what Johnny DeLuca is in center is how Morel would be in the corners. But he's still got to learn the trot and like how to track those fly balls. So I would argue, here's the thing, like he's got a plus arm. So, is he a right fielder where you're kind of messing with Josh and do you have to choose between him or Josh now? Or do you throw him into left and you kind of have like the Randy Arozarena thing, though Randy was way more of a pure outfielder than Morel was. It's just that his range wasn't as good. So that's where he kind of lost on the DRS.
PrizePicks. Baseball season is moving right along, and you can make some cash on Rays performances over on PrizePicks. Whether it's stolen bases, home runs, or hits, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. You can turn $10 into $100 with just a few taps. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entries in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. So get in on the action with PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for up to $100 match on your first deposit. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy.
He's played in the Dominican League in 2021 to 2022 and 2023 to 2024. So the last one in the Winter League for Dominican. Maybe that's something you can kind of do is, hey, go down there, work on the outfield skills, because we might need to plug you in there some days.
My guess is he will be armed with a game. Kevin Cash mentioned when they got Morel that ideally they're going to put him at one spot. I think they want to just put him there. Hey, we need you to learn this position, right? He's a utility man right now. That's why I kind of say, like, this year it seems like they might kind of like test him out in different spots. Long term, they're going to land on one spot. And that, like, just like we saw Jose Siri play first base, so anything's possible. But
I've seen Jose Alvarado play first base. Adam Kolarek.
So I'm just saying that, like, you could like get a spot start here or there, but for the most part, I imagine it's going to be like a set it and forget it. And it going back to, I think, something we talked last episode, it comes down to do you move Brandon Lau to first and then ship Yandy off in the offs? There are a lot of things that they can do, but I would imagine, again, if you put him at second, you've effectively blocked Mead. He can't play third.
Right.
He can't play second now.
Right.
Are you throwing him out in the outfield? What are you doing with Mead? What's going on now? So, that's probably the tough part about the Rays, is that they put themselves in these positions a lot more often than I would personally like. I would really like for them to kind of have like these nice runways to play someone, and it's constantly kind of like, for a team that's so defensively focused up the middle, they just kind of like tinker around, and it's like sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if I'm buying all this.
Kevin, how long have I spoken to you that Brendan Lau needs to be at first base? When we were like 7 years old?
Time.
Like when we're 7 years old?
Pretty much since 2018, I guess.
Yeah.
I think he actually hasn't been bad defensively at second recently. Like, I think he's gotten
but
better.
let's keep the man who is on the IL most of the time a little bit healthier, and first base would be that. And I know that I already can hear you guys saying he's not tall enough for first base, and this is my retort. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't. And like Evan said on Tuesday's episode, the Rays clearly evaluate first base defensive metrics way different than other clubs. Why? I'll say a couple names. Jose Cafecito Martinez, not a Gold Glover out there. What was he, folks? Ji-Man Choi, he had to learn the position. But remember when he came to be the first baseman, everybody just went crazy. Like, what? You're putting him at first base? Yeah. So, I mean, Kevin, I think we've talked about Brandon Lau being at first base option now for really like 5 years now.
No, you're right. And back to the Morel question, just a fun fact here. He still has 4 more homers than Isaac Paredes does. Paredes is struggling mightily.
I mean, he was struggling before the trade deadline too.
He was. Yeah, this is not
and he'll get on a heater again too, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point of Paredes. If the timing's off, it's pop-ups and soft contact. There is nothing else he can rely on. He's a glitch. He's a glitch in a system. He goes in there, he has a cheat code, and he figures out a way to pump it out the left. It just,
He's that black cat in the Matrix. That's how
I do
it's a glitch.
I do want to say, while Brandon Lau has played better this year at second base than last year. Last year he was a -5 DRS, and this year he's a 0. So he's played an average second base, but certainly nothing that you need to necessarily keep him at second for, right? You can probably move him over. And again, that's going back to something I mentioned before about not really valuing first baseman too much, because really your offense has to be such a driver for you to be a factor. So
All right. Next question from NetGo Recruiting says, thoughts on hitting coach Chad Mottola? Time for a change? ? New direction for next season ? Thanks, Evan.
Before you answer that, can I just preamble this by saying, dude, the expiration date on hitting coaches must be the quickest in all of sports. I mean, you guys can tell me a little bit more hockey or football, but hitting coach, you
NHL,
that, they're already giving you the expiration date. This is
NHL head coaches have the most ridiculous turnover ever. I think there's probably a small handful of NHL head coaches who have been with their team for more than 3 years. And John Cooper is an outlier. Seriously.
Okay.
What's the reasoning for that though?
It just a lot, just quick triggers. There's usually a lot of options who have had experience at the head coaching level. And in a lot of seasons in NHL, if you dig yourself a hole early, you're never getting yourself out of it. So, it's a little bit what the Rays did, right? Once you're in that hole, you're stuck. So a lot of NHL teams like to quick trigger it and say, we are not punting a season, right? Let's fix it now. But getting back onto Mottola, by all accounts, it seems like the organization likes Chad Mottola. Now, of course, you're going to say that, so I don't know. I do think it's interesting that last year, or entering this season, I believe they fired a hitting coach. I don't know if they necessarily even replaced the assistant hitting coach that they fired. I think they might have gotten rid of the position completely. It just depends. I think many moons ago I broke this down. When you look at the Rays numbers throughout Mottola's time, it started off really bad, which typically that happens when you join a team, right? There's you get fired because they have a bad offense. So he acquired a bad offense. They certainly built themselves into one of the best offenses, going into that World Series run. And then you pretty much going into 2021 too. Then you go into 2022 really bad, 2023 really good, 2024 really bad. And I tend to believe that most of the really bad has to do with some turnover and what they're doing philosophically. I don't think Chad Mottola can fix Taylor Walls. I don't think Chad Mottola can fix Jose Siri. Johnny DeLuca is young. I think I'm willing to say the jury's out on DeLuca, right? Yeah. This is his first full season. Josh Lowe stunk his first year, and then he had an amazing year, and then this year has been the year from hell. But there is something to be said about the fact that a lot of star players took a step back, but they also took a monster step forward last year. So it's when you weigh everything together, I think next year I would bring him back, and maybe next year would be a little bit more of I'm watching you that, No,
I understand everything that you've said, and I agree with it. It seems to me 8 years as a hitting coach for the same team. TikTok.
That's amazing.
TikTok. It's happening.
You say that, but I don't think anyone's. How long has Kyle Snyder been doing it as a pitching coach?
Yeah, but but the Rays pitching is always in the leaderboards. Rays hitting Usually isn't.
Yeah,
Or maybe Cash likes Chad Mottola for one reason or another, and he wants to tell the bosses, hey, I like this guy around.
Yeah, that could help. Yeah.
The thing is, you guys are just biased because it's a UCF product, and that's what it comes down to.
Thanks for the
I
apple.
mean, yeah. So I just genuinely, I would say this: in a larger market, Chad Mottola's ass would be on the hot seat. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
It would be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that would be right either. Right. Chad Mottola has had more successful seasons as a hitting coach than not successful. Now, the key is with this new iteration of bats coming up, we've recently mentioned them: Simpson, Carson Williams, Junior Caminero, Xavier Isaac. Isaac kind of a little bit more in the periphery. I mean, he's fringe 2026, probably more full-time 2027. But in the next couple of years, you're going to have this youthful upbringing of some extremely popular people or popular prospects. If they hit a snag, I don't know what kind of excuses I can build in for him, but all I can say right now is in this transitional period of this team in the hitting, I would argue post 2021, I think we got a group that was just not as bad as they should have been in 2022, not as good as they should have been in 2023. And I think 2024 looks about right with the exception of how atrocious they were to start. I think that was an anomaly, but the fact that Yandy Diaz has worked his average up to 275 is ridiculous in and of itself. Randy worked himself out of that hole. So there are plenty of reasons to showcase. Brandon Lau is having one of his best seasons with the club as a hitter. Maybe not as a home run hitter, but as a hitter, he's been awesome for a long stretch. And I'm not going to
check out Monday's episode, people. We went through B. Lau's number. He was the July MVP by Mr. Kevin Weiss. He predicted it on July 2nd that he would be.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to believe that the guys who were slumping at the start, we said, fire Mottola, got better. Right. And so I just don't know. To me, if you're in between, which is kind of where I am of it's a keep. It's for sure not it has to be a sure there's a philosophical difference. We got to move forward. We don't trust you with the new kids coming up. And I'm not necessarily buying that. And the belief is that if Mottola was let go, he would get a job real quick.
It can get real hot real quick. And you might not notice, but maybe you're a little bit dehydrated. And what better way to get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America? That's right. It's Liquid IV. You can take it anywhere. I mean, if you're on the beach, if you're traveling, if you're just going out for a walk, guess what? You just need 16 ounces of water plus that one stick. You tear it, you pour it, you live more, and you hydrate better than water alone. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. Really simple code, people. MLB. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code, everybody, MLB at liquidiv.com.
I guess some of the question is what is his role with the team? It's not like he's going in there and changing swings. I feel like that's on the players to do in the off season with their private coaches, where he's more of a confidence builder and hey, here's the scouting report. Here's how to attack this guy or that guy. It's more of an approach thing versus he's not slashing and dashing Taylor Wall's swing person.
That's a feedback thing, right? It's like a soundboard.
Yeah, and I want to say this, right? You can't if you want to explain the woes of Josh Lowe, which I think are very much injury related and probably his oblique, his mechanics are probably all screwed up to prevent you injure such a pivotal part of your swing in your body. Usually you overcompensate and you start doing things that you don't realize you're doing. But Isaac Paredes, when he came over, he was a quadruple A player, and look what he turned into. Like
Right.
if you're gonna put so much emphasis on the losses that some of these players have taken at the plate, then we got to also start pointing out the wins. And like Isaac Paredes is maybe like the
biggest
best
win.
piece of work
He's
that
the
he's ever
poster child,
done.
yeah.
So I'm just saying, if like we really flesh this out and we go through all these players, like I think that over the grand scheme of things, you would say like, oh yeah, like this isn't like too bad, right? I mean, Yandy Diaz came here and he hit the snot out of the ball.
Can we bookmark this? I think this would be a great offseason topic. Like, like hitters, like which ones have worked out, which ones like, oh, maybe they took a step back or something. But I agree with you. I mean, I think Paredes is definitely on that podium of like maybe best ever acquisition that turned it around offensively. Because as a Rays fan, I can tell you that we usually do not have that story being told. All right, so next question by Glue at Big Blue Fan. I'm guessing like Bills or something.
It better not be Michigan.
That's right, Glue. With the salary the Rays have, can they realistically get a ring, Evan? I'm not sure if we have to wait another 5, maybe 6 years to finally build enough capital and let these prospect trade deals fully pan out. I trust the process. I just want to know your take.
It's certainly harder. I mean, I think we proved that with the salary that they've had. First off, go Bucks, just in case that's a go Blue. With the we've learned that they can win this way. I do believe that they need to invest in a hitter, which again, I hate saying ad nauseum, they did with Wander, and that was kind of the caliber of player that they do need to get over the hump. Can they win a World Series? Absolutely, because I can point to countless examples of teams that rode pitching and relied on some Pablo Sandoval or, Steve Pearce, kind of these random World Series type heroes. Look, Randy Arozarena came out of nowhere and led this team to a World Series, right? Like those kind of stories can happen. It recently has not. They've been deplorable in the postseason hitting since 2022. And in 2021, they were amazing hitting the ball. They just couldn't pitch, which was rare. So they kind of flipped it. So in the next 5 to 6 years, I do believe they will certainly have a window to win a World Series. Their farm system is deep enough to acquire a talent that would really help them, a la like what they did with Nelson Cruz. You would hope that maybe they wouldn't go in the rental market and would maybe seek someone who's a little bit more long-term, 1.5 years or something like that. And I would hope that with a new stadium that there might be a little bit more money that would go into the team. And that's not to say that they're going to turn into a top 5 spending team. They're not going to be the Yankees. They're not going to be the Dodgers. But I think just enough to where they can maybe some of these homegrown players, they can.
I think we're all just hoping that they can be like the Milwaukee Brewers. like can we just get in like the Milwaukee type one?
That's fine, but it's not like Milwaukee's winning anything either, right?
No, but at least the Rays have, like you said, they've actually gone further. They've gone to the World Series. They almost rode Randy Arozarena into a World Series championship.
So you're just saying like purchase like a Christian Yelich or something like that.
Give us a 9-figure player. That's not in court.
That doesn't have extracurricular activities that are horrible.
Theoretically, if Junior Caminero can pan out to be what he's supposed to be, he would kind of be the sun that the planets all revolve around. And like if anybody follows the NBA, you need a sun for all the other players to revolve around. Like the Spurs were nothing. They got Victor Wembanyama. All of a sudden, you can start building your team. When the Rays lost Wander, they lost their son, which is what they were building their entire future around. And now they have to regroup. And you got to remember with Wander, he was going to be like a 7-8 WAR player, not only offensively speaking, defensively, he was one of the best shortstops as well. So it's such a huge tinker that if you can find somebody who's like a superstar, like a Bobby Witt Jr., whatever it might be, the Royals, right, aren't rolling in dough. They paid Bobby Witt Jr. immediately. So if you can find those types, you pay them immediately, you keep them. So I would say that you'd hope with Caminero, Xavier Isaac, Carson Williams, one of those three, one of them you'd hope turns to be into this blossoming star.
Before the last question, Kevin, I want to do a little impromptu trivia, and it's only going to be like 30 seconds.
Okay.
Since 1995, how many teams have ranked in the bottom 10 of the opening day payroll and have won the World Series?
Since 1995?
Since 1995.
How many teams have won the World Series with a bottom 5 payroll?
Bottom 10.
Bottom 10.
10.
I would say 3.
Okay.
I'll just I was gonna go 2.
Closky's closest. It's 1.
Was it the Royals?
The Athletics.
Strike 3. I'm going to only give you 1 strike.
I thought it was number 1.
It's my favorite team because it's the year that I came to the U.S. The 2003 Miami Marlins.
Oh, yeah.
Only team since 1995 to be in the bottom 10. And just as an aside, 26 of the 29 teams to win a World Series ranked in the top half of MLB in opening day payroll since 1995. So can they get it? Evan's right. Yes, they can. They've shown that they can get it. But history tells us it's incredibly difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. And that's the problem with the Rays kind of structure, is that the stars have to align, because it's not that they don't have the talent, they do, but you need the pitching and the hitting to align the same year. And as I just mentioned, I think there's no greater example of that than the 2021 Rays team, which was a lineup that was built for a long run, and their arms broke down, and you had Shane McClanahan coming out of the bullpen, and they were trying to do whatever they could. I mean,
Patino, Rasmussen, Boz
blew up, who was actually doing. I mean, they were, you got to remember, for a while, right? The Rays were the kings of, we're going to sign a pitcher for like Corey Kluber, or what, we're going to sign pitchers for 1 year, big money, and move on from them, and like kind of, tap them on the butt and say, there you go, like go be free. They haven't really done that in the last couple of years, and that's because they've actually developed a good crop. Yeah. But the thing is, with the Rays, they're in a really good sweet spot with their talent of having a ton of great arms right now to compete in 2025, and then if they do have to essentially sell and go in a traditional direction, they'll be able to do that. I don't subscribe to talking about like Taj and all these people. Like, we don't know. Like, they're still, like Ryan, like enjoy, like they're not getting traded for the next like 3-4 years. So like, Shane is probably the next one we got to worry about, and he's coming off a double TJ. So, right, like there are just things that, typically the Rays, when it comes to arms, they don't want to bet on arms long term, and that's just sort of been their philosophy. And I think if they can find, they have though in the past, they have bet on hitting within their own. They've bought some pitching, Charlie Morton, Zach Eflin, but they haven't necessarily kept their own pitching long term. Yeah, I think maybe Archer.
Archer's pretty, he was long.
They didn't even, David Price, see you later. But again, Price won a World Series, but Price had maybe another he probably had another year and a half in him, maybe 2.5, maybe, before, Boston that whole contract was worthless, right? Except for that, that World Series run probably made it worthwhile. But I'm just saying, typically, people complain. It's just like, not often have the Rays whiffed in when they sell these players. Right. Most of the time, what you got out of them were their peak, and what you're seeing is maybe a season or two left in them. And to keep them, you are going to have to overpay for the bad years, and they're not a club that can overpay for the bad years. And typically that's what free agency is. It's overpaying for the bad years. And that's, unless you're like Juan Soto, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, and you enter free agency so young because you were brought up at 20 that an organization will buy into long term because they're going to get you, for 8-9 of your peak.
You heard it here first, folks. Manny Machado and Bryce Harper are both coming to the Tampa Bay Rays from Evan Closky. You
It's
You
a
even
fact.
go with Soto. Soto's the only the legit guy who's entering the market.
It's 100% done deal. All right, I'm going to pull a Closky on the clock for this last question regarding Curtis Mead. This one from Brad Olson. They call Mead up and are playing him only twice a week. Why not give him a shot at third base, second base instead of Caballero, or for flipping walls?
For flipping walls.
That's going to be a meme. Put Cab at shortstop. How is Mead going to get feet under him with 6 ABs a week?
So I actually agree with the overall sentiment. It's a similar sentiment that I would say for Jonathan Aranda, right? He was supposed to get, consistent playing time. Never happened. Injuries hurt him this year, of course. The team views Mead as a left-handed specialist right now. Also, why do they put Cabby there? It's with Cabby and with Walls. That is a strong defensive duo on that side of the field. And Mead is not really known for his defensive prowess. That's probably a significant knock on him. And for all the people who say that the Rays are waving the white flag, the reason why you're not seeing him consistently is because they have not waved the white flag. And that if they're going to be the most successful team to try to make a postseason push at this point, it's probably best for him to be a platoon player.
Okay, perfect. I think that was
flipping
right on
walls. That's going to be.
Are you still laughing about the flipping walls thing?
And just in a general thing, very quickly, for maybe one of you guys can look it up, but my guess is Taylor Walls has a positive WAR, doesn't he?
Ooh,
I don't think so. Does he not have a positive WAR?
This year, -0.5 by Fangraphs is -0.5.
Flipping walls.
Career, he's a 0.2 Fangraphs WAR.
So
again, it's not great. Like I understand when you watch him play.
So Baseball Reference has him at a 0.3.
Okay.
But in the past, so last year he played 99 games. He was a 2 WAR. In 2022, he played like pretty much a full season. 142 games, 466 at bats, 2.5 WAR. So
see, Fangraphs has him at -0.5 for that season, the 2022 season.
So hey, you're the guys. When you do WAR, you use BWAR. So if we got to remain consistent, I don't want to hear the Fangraph stuff all of a sudden. It goes to your narrative. I'm just saying that I think this year they are at least to me, when I look at that and I see BWAR 1.4, 2.5, 2, 0.3, to me, and it's only 41 games, but over like 99 last year, he had a 2 WAR. This year, he's probably going to be at a 0.6, 0.7.
The discrepancy is ridiculous. Look at those numbers you said. In Fangraphs is 0.4, -0.5, 0.8, -0.5. That is huge.
You have to ask yourself, the Rays have to ask themselves if the hip injury that he suffered and had surgery on, was that the tipping point in where his bat has gone so far south that it negates everything he does defensively. And to counter that as well, I don't know if they necessarily have a choice in what to do with him until Carson Williams is ready. They could play Cabby every day, but I think if they did that, Cabby's defensive numbers this season at shortstop for whatever reason have not been good based on RDS. He's been actually excellent at third, or I believe second base he's been excellent. Second he's been excellent. That's probably where you want them both, but
in a perfect world, shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, everyone remembers kind of April with Cabby, but I think if you saw him over the full season playing short, it would really, you'd start to see like the deficiencies emerge and he'd wear on you. I think Cabby plays kind of the right role right now. I think that he plays just enough. He's defensively sound. He moves all over. I think they're just kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck for another year.
It's in seasons like this where you think like, okay, it's very difficult to go to the playoffs. You kind of just say, you know what, F it. I at least want to see like a more entertaining product. And an entertaining product usually for baseball means, can you hit the damn ball? And Taylor Walls can't do that. But you know what you can do? You can go to Channel 10. You can go to Channel 10 Tampa Bay.
10tampabay.com.
10tampabay.com. Yeah. And get Evan Closky and much more content. Evan, where can people find all of your work?
At eClosky WTSP on the X, at ECLOSKY WTSP. I'll respond to 99.9% of you as long as you're not a jerk. And head to 10tampabay.com, 10tampabay Plus. We are still talking about Buccaneers training camp and leading into that first game in Cincinnati this weekend.
Ooh. Evan, please work on flipping walls into your sportscast.
I will not work flipping walls, but I do appreciate our friend for not cursing.
Yeah.
That's good. You're still in the flipping walls. This is great. This is, people, by the way, this is going to go into when we hit stop recording, we're going to talk about the flipping walls. Anyway.
Get a t-shirt.
Yeah, get a t-shirt.
I think I might sell some.
Yeah, why not?
Gosh. Why not? With him raising his fist in the arm or something. I don't know. All right. Have a good day, everybody. We'll talk to you on Thursday.